Halloween, everybody. It's me, Davira, Mistress of the Dark, and on today's episode of IMPERIUS REX, we're going to wrap our fingers around a spooky little yarn all the way from Japan. That's right, Junji Ito's horror classic, UZUMAKI. Alright, welcome back, everybody. But before we begin the show, Troy, you're not Troy.
Nope, Dinosaur Neil here.
Where's Troy?
Well, Troy actually let me know before the show that he was running a little bit late. You know, he wasn't feeling very well either. Also didn't read the book.
Okay. Not gonna lie, I mean, a little disappointed. This is our first big show back. Went through a lot of trouble here, getting everything prepared. Did you read the book?
I absolutely read the book.
Okay, well then we'll just go. We'll just go right into it. UZUMAKI. This is the first ever manga. Not of all time, but what we've done on the show here. It has been, we've had frequent requests to cover some manga.
Fans clamoring for some manga.
They're dying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know what? They may have bit off more than they can chew. Ooh, spooky. So this is a book that I've heard come up many a time. Halloween rolls around, spookiest time of the year. Everybody wants something to curl up in front of that old campfire, in front of that jack-o'-lantern.
Watch what you say. Curl up into what?
Oh my god.
Don't even get started. We'll go down a rabbit hole so deep.
This is a horror heavyweight. Always in a list of scariest books you'll ever read. And it's brought to us by Junji Ito, who is a phenomenal writer, artist, full package.
Oh, absolutely.
And this was, I think, one of his real big claims to fame right off the bat. He worked for a Japanese publisher, and this was originally published as a... I keep waving it around. You want to hold it for a while?
Absolutely.
Give it a shot. It's pretty nice. So this book is a collection of serials that was originally published in 1998 through 99, which does not seem like enough time for everything that this covers.
No, you told me once, when we started reading it, that it was 700 pages. And by God, is it ever. This is a thick boy.
Yeah, sorry, I sprung it on you about 5 days before recording this.
Hey, 700 pages in 5 days?
Think you can do it?
Already bought it.
Troy can't, I know that.
We sure can't.
But no, that speaks volumes about this volume. Mm-hmm. Plays on words tonight. You're in for a treat, folks.
English language at full play today.
That's right. We both just blew through this thing. Mm-hmm. And partly because it is so fucking bizarre that I was like, what is going to happen next in this?
Absolutely.
I just had to keep reading.
You had to.
Because it's all one overarching story for the most part, but there's still a lot of middle pieces where they just go off on these little weird tangents in this town.
Right.
A town befallen by spirals. And that may sound stupid.
It absolutely sounds ridiculous. However, it is expertly crafted, drawn, and everything by Junji Ito. It's just fantastic. He makes you think about this shape in your dreams.
My lord. It's plagued my dreams.
Oh my God.
It's plagued my waking life.
Sure has.
I told you, right when I was in the midst of this, crack open a Snapple. Take a look under that cap for the Snapple fact. My hand's shaking. I'm just thinking about it. It gives me a fact about the fucking spiral.
Oh, yeah. You sent it to me. I immediately cut off all my fingertips because of the spirals.
That's right. And I threw the bottle out the window.
Thank you.
So, look, I don't think we can... Let's get into it.
Yeah.
We're holding up traffic here.
Oh, yeah.
And the people want to know, what's this book all about?
Let's dive deep.
That's right.
The Downward Spiral.
Oh my God, it's a great album.
It sure is.
It's so fitting.
One of his best.
Maybe we'll sample a bit.
We'll see.
No, I want to monetize this.
Okay.
We need the clicks to keep the lights on. But spoilers ahead, just so you know. And if you can go into this without knowing what you're getting into, I would say do it.
Absolutely.
But if you need some convincing, you just listen to us, just tell you a little tale here.
Oh, yeah.
And whenever you've had enough, you just push pause. Or leave the room, let it play.
Yeah.
Either
then
one.
go read 700 pages real quick.
Yep, we'll wait.
Come back.
The main story of this is a small seaside community in Japan, nice quaint little village that has been plagued by the curse of the spiral. And what does this mean? It means all the residents, slowly at first, but before you know it, they are all just driven insane because of spirals.
And it's from all sorts of things. It starts with a snail. It moves on to clouds in the sky, whirlwinds in the air, in the water. Fingerprints. Everything. A scar. You name it.
Umbilical cord. A drill bit.
Oh boy. A centipede.
A cube. No.
Not at all.
Not that. So, who initially kicks this off here? We have our protagonist, a young... spunky little girl named Kiri?
Correct. That's how I said it in my head.
Yeah, we're gonna mispronounce the shit out of these because they're all Asian names and we're just dumb Americans.
We'll probably only focus on two names. We've got Kiri, who's like the main protagonist, and then her boyfriend, Shuichi.
I'm gonna get that wrong quite often. I'll just call that out.
We apologize now. But Shuichi is her boyfriend, and Patient Zero is his dad, so he's kind of the one that's always like, we need to do something about this. He's the one who knows.
Yeah, he's got his finger on the pulse.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Kiri stumbles upon his father in an alleyway, just peering at these bricks, and she's like, hey, how's it going? And he's just so intently looking. She's like, oh, he must not hear me. And she looks over his shoulder, and he's just laser focused on this snail.
Oh, boy.
A little taste of things to come. But then she chats with Shuichi. There's one.
Put the counter up.
She's like, I ran into your dad the other day. He was acting a little weird. And he's like,
tell me about it.
How much time you got?
Yeah.
It's like, this town's cursed by spirals. Yeah. We should get out of here. Exactly. Some shit's going down. And before you know it, she's caught up in this tangle web herself. It's
one funny thing kind of about her and some of the other characters. Like, Shuichi is like the only one who grasps the situation at every stage, pretty much, until like the very last page of the book, pretty much.
Yep.
He's the only one who fully grasps the situation.
He's the only one with some drive.
Yeah, exactly. And everyone else is like, I want more of these spirals. Yeah. Give me some more of these spirals. And he's like, no, you gotta stop. Like,
stop eating all the spirals.
He tends to always walk in a room and they're like, oh, hey, Shuichi. And he's just like, spirals, man. You gotta stop looking at them, man.
Spirals killed my father.
Yeah. Oh, do they ever kill his father?
Oh, yeah. So they go through a whole song and dance with the dad. To call him a spiral enthusiast would be putting it lightly. Would be underselling him.
Very much so.
So he has a couple moments with some spirals before deciding that the best way to fully appreciate a spiral is to become a spiral himself.
Yes!
He starts by moving his eyes in different spiral directions, independent of themselves.
And it's funny, because he's like, hey, look at this! Like, just being an insane maniac.
Yes. And then it moves on to, he somehow runs across Kiri, and he's like, hey, look what my tongue can do! She runs off screaming.
Yeah.
And then the next time they see him, there's this big old tub in the ground. They pull off the lid, and he has just curled himself up like a snake in there. But he doesn't look comfortable. He's twisted up beyond all measure.
And I have to say, that's what solidified this book going forward.
That's where it gets real.
It's in like the first two chapters, so it's like you get introduced to it right away. But I looked at that page and went, holy shit!
Holy smokes! It's one of those.
Yeah,
books.
Exactly.
One of those body horror things.
Oh my god! Because he looks awful inside of that thing.
Yes, he is the first of many, and I would say they get increasingly more disgusting and disturbing. And there's nothing in this book that is like lewd or profane. They might drop like one F-bomb. There's no, like, graphic nudity.
There's one man butt.
There's a man butt, and I think there's some bare chest.
Yeah.
But it is just so terrifyingly grotesque.
Yeah.
Like, I would say this is a heavy, mature book just by how creepy it is.
Yeah. And it's always on that next page. You're like, oh, what's going to happen to this? mangled in some way or another, and in a way you could never imagine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm looking at this and I'm like, could I show my kids this? I'm like, well, no one's fucking. They're not saying any bad words, but this person's getting their throat drilled out by a pregnant woman. Maybe when they're 10.
Yeah, let's give it a year.
Yeah. So that kind of, the father's death kicks off this whole thing. Some more people start to get afflicted by the curse of the spiral. This man's wife now catches a case of crazy.
Yep.
She goes to an institution, and suddenly she's seeing spirals on everything.
Yep.
Her fingertips, which she cuts off with a pair of scissors. She's speaking to her doctor with her son, Shuichi. And he's just kind of listening to what the doctor's saying, and all of a sudden his gaze looks up over the doctor's shoulder, and they have the anatomical chart, and all of a sudden his eyes find the inner ear with that spiral cochlea.
Yep.
And he's like, oh no!
Take it down!
Like, what is it? And they're like, nothing! Maybe you should get a drink.
Yes.
They rush her out of there, and he's like, you cannot tell my mom that there is a spiral in her ear.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like a series of misadventures where she almost finds out for a while.
Like, where'd that poster go? He's like, it was old. I got rid of it.
Never a poster.
Yeah.
But eventually she realizes it because a centipede slithers up her pillow while she's asleep, whispering sweet nothings into her inner ear, and then tries to crawl in there. And she wakes up when it's like just the tip in there, and knocks it aside, and then it curls up into a spiral itself and looks like her dead husband.
Yeah.
And it starts talking like, there's a spiral in your ear, baby.
Oh, yeah. And then she takes a pair of scissors to her head.
Yep.
So
gotta get that spiral out.
Gotta get it out.
Gotta fuck up that spiral. And then something even weirder happens. The people that start dying from this get cremated.
Yep.
And their ashes go swirling, as they would, into the sky. And then they're shot down into Dragonfly Pond.
Oh, yeah.
Where, I guess, just people hang out.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's their town square, apparently.
Yep.
So from here it begins to really spread out among the town, and we get like little almost slices of life or slices of death stories of various inhabitants, while the bigger picture is kind of looming over all of the townsfolk. And the town is just getting worse and worse, to the point where by the end it's no longer standing. Mainly because they are just hammered by a storm, a hurricane.
Yeah.
And then, as if that wasn't enough, for some reason, everyone gets, like, wind powers.
Yeah, that's the best way to explain it. Wind powers, riding tornadoes and stuff like that.
This is the one part of the book where I'm like, it was something lost in translation here, because this is the thing that I find the most far-fetched out of this whole thing.
Know, right?
Like a third or 2/3 of the way through, I'm like, I don't buy this.
Yeah, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah. Just the whole atmosphere of the town is under such weird, twisted oppression that like any sound or movement will kick up a wind tornado.
Twisty spiraled whirlwind. Yep.
And a couple punk kids start using this to their advantage, and they start up like a little whirlwind gang.
Yep.
They're just buzzing around,
just blowing down
terrorizing
houses.
people.
Yep.
Bunch of slice and dicers, like in Dark Knight Returns.
They shiv.
Oh my God, do they? At the same time, they can't get out of this town.
Nope.
Because everywhere they turn, every road leads right back to whatever this village is called.
Oh, yeah. Exactly. It's some kind of, like, Silent Hill paradox, where it's like, there's an exit, but it just leads you right back around to, like, exactly where you started.
Yep. And not only can they not get out, people can't get in either. The Navy can't get in. There's helicopters trying to come in. They're all just getting blown down or sucked into a whirlpool.
Yeah.
So it's not a good place to be.
Absolutely not.
And as our characters are just searching for an escape, eventually they realize the only way out is through. And they start heading towards the center of town, where all of the houses, the row houses they're called, which are like old, I guess kind of like more like ghetto flats, I guess, in Japan. They're all starting to be built into a spiral pattern that leads like all these alleyways right to the center of town.
Right.
And the way that they're built is interesting.
Yes, very much so.
Because all the inhabitants are trying to get out of the whirlwinds.
Yep.
So they're all they're monkeyed on each other and twisted up, limbs entangled in limbs.
They become one giant twisty fuck
ball
of a
of
being.
yarn.
Yes. And they all, like, when they build these row houses, all you see is, like, arms coming out of this mush holding up boards for others to nail it.
Just
Yeah.
And I love that as the protagonists are going through the town, they keep running into all these people in the houses that are like, can you take our dead? And they'll just throw out a big floppy, dead, twisted corpse, and they're like, get this out of here, it's starting to stink.
Exactly. And there is one guy out there cleaning it up for some reason.
Just going about his business, cleaning up the town.
Sure thing.
So it ends up eventually being Kiri and Shuichi, getting down to the core of the town. They go down a twisty little staircase into this subterranean city full of spirals, like an underground city made of spirals, and all the dead are like turning to stone almost. Right. It's almost like their bodies are somehow being used to keep building this ancient city.
Right.
So it's like whoever started it is long dead, and now the city is just kind of creating itself.
Yeah, over and over.
And it gets to the point where, once again, spoilers, but you've watched it this far.
Yeah.
The two leads realize it's all for nothing, and they just wrap each other up and they decide to become one with the spiral. Yep. The city kind of like flattens out then. It's almost like this big drill that goes back up the way they came. Yep. And I think all the houses kind of like flatten out, and they just say like, all right, and now it's reset until the next time. Yep. So it's just this self-fulfilling cycle that
just read it again.
Yep, you do.
And you're good to go.
Yeah. So that struck me as like a very Lovecraftian theme, where it's like there's some horrible cosmic horror that we can't even begin to understand, and there's no reason that we can wrap our heads around. It's just going to be bad and do this, and you're all fucked.
Exactly.
And I think Ito said one of his big influences was Lovecraft, so it makes total sense.
Oh, it sure does.
But it's done in a very unique way.
Absolutely.
Pick a shape and make it a monster.
Yeah,
what
and
a
have
weird
it terrorize
thing.
a town for 700 pages.
So, that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
But that would be leaving out some of the best parts.
All of the best parts.
Because the best parts of this have very little to do with the overall story. It's just weird things that are happening to people in this town.
Right.
So it kicks off with the father twisting himself up and the mother, and then we move on to a couple other characters, one of which is a girl with a small moon-shaped scar on her forehead, which slowly, as you would imagine, spirals out.
Yes.
But runs deeper and deeper into her skull until it's just like a hollowed out bowl.
One of the best splash pages, actually, in my opinion. Like, there's all, like, the grotesque ones, and then this one is just the weirdest supernatural thing where, like, her eyeballs just floating on the edge of the spiral and then eventually toilet bowls down her spiral head.
And on that, like, was she, like, the prettiest girl in school or something at one point? And this guy's after her. And when he pulls her hair aside and sees it, he, like, gets sucked into her head, and his legs are, like, kicking as her whole... his whole body is just, like, swallowed into
dangling
the hole.
Her head.
And then she, like, turns inside out and basically just implodes on herself into nothing.
Yep. And that's what a lot of these books have to do with, is, like, the spiral is out there to destroy everyone's life, and it's, like, a symbol of, like, obsession.
Yes.
Like, that's typically what all of this is. Everybody gets obsessed with one portion of the spiral. One of the other ones that actually has to kind of do with the same kind of vanity aspect is the Medusa one.
Oh, yeah.
And this is one where our main character almost gets her comeuppance. And, like, this is the first bit of, like, oh, no, she might get it. Like, so there's another girl in town, or no, Kiri first gets her hair kind of spiraled.
It's all twirled up.
All the boys start to notice. But one girl is not having it. She's like, I want to be noticed. I want the spiraled hair. So her hair starts spiraling out of control, and the hair's taken over.
They have a showdown, a hair battle.
Exactly. So they're walking around trying to show off their hair and just being, like, insane. And, like, what they don't know is that the hair is draining the life force, sucking the life.
On them.
It's like a straw sucking the life force out of their skin.
It's like Morbius needing plasma.
Like it's plasma. Get it, Leto. And... oh, of course, Shuichi knows what's going on. He's like, Kiri, you need to cut your hair. So he heroically tries to cut her hair and gets swallowed up into her hair, but eventually ends up cutting through. And the girl who has her hair left ends up like being like, yeah, I'm the prettiest girl. She's like turning into a skeleton and then gets like fastened to a pole and just melts there and just dies as her hair grows up and then just withers away. And then it's like, and that's the last we saw of her.
That's how I'd like to go out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then there's also the twisting lovers, who are something of a Romeo and Juliet type of story, where the two families hated each other, but they found solace in each other's twisted up arms. And they wrapped up and then eventually slithered off into the sea.
Yep. To never be seen again.
Yep,
that's how a lot of these end.
And they were never seen again.
Yep, a twisty sea monster is what they became.
It's the equivalent of Hellboy clapping his hands and be like, well, that's that.
Exactly.
So then we get to one of my personal favorites.
And you messaged me straight when you read this, and I was like, agreed.
Yeah. So this story, Jack in the Box, is about this little punk kid who has a crush on our lead, Kiri.
Yep.
And in typical, like, adolescent hormonal boy, he shows it by just scaring the daylights out of her.
Yeah.
I guess this isn't a typical thing. This is a very strange behavior.
Yeah.
I don't know why I said that. And I know a thing about strange behavior.
Believe it or not.
So he's popping out of trash cans, out of garbage, behind graves, just, what these kids get into. And he's like, man, I wish you'd like me. I want you to be my girlfriend so everybody thinks I'm cool.
Yeah, with the strangest logic that he's got.
She's like in her room and he's like, I wish I could reach up there and touch you with my hands. And then he eventually meets his end by saying like, my love will stop traffic. And he jumps into traffic and just gets demolished.
Instantly, the next shot is him curled up in the wheel well of a car. It's just,
of course.
Yes, it's just awful looking.
Like, whoa, that's the end of Jack.
Holy shit, Jack's dead.
Yep. But it's not long before Jack's back.
Tell us about it.
Well, she gets a mysterious package, a Jack in the Box, saying Jack died for you, but you know what? His love's still strong. Paraphrasing, I don't remember exactly what it said. Maybe it didn't talk at all.
I'm not sure.
But I wouldn't put it past it if it did.
Absolutely not.
So her and Shuichi go into
Shuichi,
the cemetery. They're like, we gotta dig him up for some reason.
Yeah, that's what I didn't quite understand.
I don't know why this would be a good idea, but they do it.
Yep.
They dig him up, and he springs out of his grave.
And we should mention that they've buried these people now because they're worried about the crematory or whatever spiraling everyone's smoke into the sky, making everyone more insane.
More spirally.
More
twisty.
Yep.
So he hops out, and then he just starts bouncing along. Just leaping out of his grave. And every time, and he's all stitched up and rotten looking.
Oh yeah.
And every time he jumps, like his joints
just
start,
parts fall off.
Yep. You see his guts like sag in his stomach, and then the next one they just plop out at his feet.
Yeah.
And he keeps going until he just eventually falls to pieces, and he's literally being sprung along from a spring that came from the car.
That was just left inside.
It was embedded into his spine, and they're just like, well, he's dead.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not gonna leave him. What am I, a mechanic? Just put him in the ground.
Yeah. So one of the next stories we get to after Jack in the Box is one of this boy, Katayama. And guess what? Katayama. And this has to be this had one of my favorite panels, but not for something that's actually grotesque. It's just more of a funny thing. So Katayama is this boy who goes to the school that Kiri and Shuichi go to, and he's always late. And he always comes to school when it rains, which is very bizarre. But he always comes into class, and the best scene of all, he opens the door and just peeks his head and just all wet face. He's always just so wet.
Wet glacial fuck. Katayama.
Katayama and his giant grin
everyone hates him.
But you know why he's so slow?
Tell me. Lay it on me.
He starts to grow a big thing on his back, and he starts turning into a snail.
No.
A human hybrid snail.
That doesn't make any sense.
Believe it or not, it's in the book.
Oh my god.
So he's turning into a snail, and slowly but surely just starts morphing in until like his arms kind of plop off and he just turns into a snail.
I love
and
that
then
he
his
still
eyes
makes it into school.
Yeah,
Because,
he
like,
still slithers into school.
It's like, oh, he's late. Where's
Yep.
Katayama? And then he just, hey, guys.
It's just disgusting. So he becomes full snail, like human-sized big snail. And one of the best other scenes from this is he's crawled up the side of the school.
Oh, God.
And like the janitorial staff or something are trying to poke him off the
Like,
side with a broom.
We need to get him down. And then it's like, well, we got our best men on it. And someone's out there with a broom just peeling him off.
Yeah.
He falls into a net and they put him in a cage.
Yep, so they keep Katayama as a pet,
Yup.
which is just great.
Oh, but man, the other shoe drops because that bully,
Yep.
he gets a bad case of snailitis as well.
Oh, does he? Yeah.
He becomes a snail.
He does.
And in one of the strangest, and that's saying something,
Yes.
strangest turn of events in a very strange graphic novel.
Yeah.
The two snails, now sharing a pen,
Yep.
start to like kind of rub up against each other, and they're
Yeah.
like, what are they doing? No, they're both males. And then they're like,
And the snails are hermaphrodites.
snails are hermaphrodites. It's okay.
Yeah.
So they have snail babies.
Yeah. So they have their
Which
clutch
the
of snail
teacher
eggs.
has a vendetta against.
Oh yeah. He's like, these abominations, and he goes squishes this nest of snail eggs. Guess what? Gets a case of the snailitis.
Oh
he
my
comes
God.
into class the next day like, oh, I'm here. And he's
All
like,
right, class, did everyone? And that's how that one ends.
And that's how that ends. It
What more do you
literally
need?
is. Yep.
So then, somewhere along the lines, Kiri winds up in the hospital.
Mhm.
And you think, hey, nice place to rest, heal up.
Yeah.
Nothing can happen to you here.
No.
You're dead wrong.
If you thought she was safe,
You're an idiot.
you're an idiot.
You haven't been reading this weird-ass book. So she stumbles upon a pack of pregnant, vampiric women.
Yeah.
Not
Per
really
usual.
spiral-obsessed.
No.
But they do drill into their victims with a big ol' like corkscrew drill.
Yep.
Which is a spiral. You wouldn't believe how many everyday objects are a spiral. You look at your giant corkscrew drill in the
Yep.
corner, you're like,
Yeah.
spiral, never
Who
would
knew?
have guessed. You look at your snail pet,
Yep.
you're
The
like,
compulsion.
stop fucking the other snail. You're boys.
They're both hermaphrodites, though.
But yeah, these pregnant women have this lust for blood. This is called mosquitoes, is the chapter.
Oh, yeah.
And then these babies, these evil babies, are born, and what do they want?
Back in.
They want to go back in the womb.
Yep.
Like, what is this becoming?
Yeah.
So this baby's ultimate plan is to convince the doctor who delivered him to sew him back in the mama's uterus.
Yeah.
Which he does. And then
Yeah.
the mom, who's like now a zombified monster woman,
Yeah.
just runs rampant. I don't even know anymore.
It's just disgusting because it's like during the night, all of these pregnant women get up with their babies needing all this blood because people are woken up with holes drilled inside of them.
Lots of holes, like
Yeah.
in weird places.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a good one.
It sure was. How does that one end even? I don't even remember.
Oh, hold on. It ends with the doctor being attacked by the mom, and then Kiri running away and being like, "And I never went back."
Of course
Yeah.
it did.
But one of the best parts is that was a 2-part story,
Yep.
and the first one ends with her escaping the clutches of these bloodthirsty pregnant women, and she's like discharged from the hospital, and
Yep.
she's like, "Whew, glad to be out of there," and then she
Just
trips
falls
down
down
the
the
stairs, and she's readmitted for like another week when now the babies are born, and
Yep.
it all like keeps going.
Yeah.
Oh my god, Junji Ito's a comedic genius.
Oh, he's just great. And that is one thing about the book which is great. Because, like, the events are not funny, I'd say, but there's so much funny stuff in there.
I would say like they are so preposterous that they become
Yeah.
they become hilarious.
Yeah, yeah,
While also being like terrifying.
yeah.
So those are some of the, like the highlight. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Is it trick or treaters? Is it?
Surely it's not that time.
No. Come in. Who's there, please?
Hey guys. I slooped on over. What's he been doing?
Well, come on in. We're just gonna talk while you're coming in here.
Yeah.
We're just gonna go on with the show.
Continue.
All right. So one other one that really stuck in my craw, grossed me out the door in this, was when the main family, Kiri and her parents, start staying in one of the row houses, and everyone in there is plagued with these spiky warts.
Yes.
Ugh. That's
No,
just
thank
something
you.
that right off the bat I'm like, I don't like that.
No.
And then they just keep growing, like they're just getting these weird, like bony looking
Spirally spiky
Yes.
warts.
Ugh,
Yeah.
God. And there's a neighbor kid that's like peeping on them
Yeah.
through their walls, and eventually, like when everyone's just covered in on the whole family, they look at the wall and there's like a million spikes just coming through the wall where this kid
From
has
this
just like
peeping,
been just like nailed to the wall, and then the wall collapses and he like breaks out,
Yeah.
and he's got them coming out of his eyes and the tip of his nose, and his tongue has like 12 of them.
Yeah.
It is so grotesque.
Yeah.
Wanted to puke.
Everything about these row houses disgusting.
Oh, if you don't have spiky warts, you're
yeah.
tangled
You're
up
twisted
in...
up to another person.
Oh.
A group of people.
And by the end of this, like, it is a full-on, almost apocalyptic scenario.
Yep.
The place is a wasteland.
Yeah.
The survivors are scavenging for food. And what do they come across? Bunch of snail people. And they're like, you know what? They're not even people anymore. We can eat them.
Yeah.
Which they do.
They do.
They cook them, break open that shell with a crowbar, and just start munching on
Just
that
eat
snail
it.
flesh.
And everyone partakes.
And they love it.
They love it. Apparently it tastes amazing. So.
Some cultures, it's a delicacy.
Absolute escargot.
Escargot, they call it.
Wow. I never want it. Everyone's eaten snail beyond this point. That's all
Eventually
they're
they find out they're just as good raw.
Oh,
And one of
yeah.
the gang leaders, he's just sitting there waiting for one of his cronies to turn.
Yeah.
Because he's just shambling around with
Yeah.
his hunched over back.
Yeah.
And he's just like licking his lips.
Oh, he's
like,
just salivating like none other.
And finally, the guy like morphs in, he gets his eyes slooping
His
out.
eyes sloop right out.
And they're like, all right, let's go.
Yep.
Dinner's served. And the snail like sucks back
Yep.
in, and the guy's like, oh no, you ain't running from me. And he just crawls right into that shell.
Dives head first into there, like mouth first, like
Yes.
And at first you think, oh, he's getting sucked into the snail, and the snail's got him. He's gonna eat him.
No.
He just went in and snaked his way and ate that whole snail person. Because he comes out, he's just like, oh, some good raw snail. You gotta try it.
Yeah. So the snails, they're endangered species by the end of this.
Yeah, but delicious.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey guys.
Hey, Troy.
Hey Troy.
Why don't you, do you want to, like, maybe just have a little
Take
squat in the middle?
Take a seat, maybe? I'm okay. Alright.
Well, do you need anything?
No thanks.
I would say this book is like a must-read for any horror fan. I mean, after I was done, I was like, I need more.
Oh,
Like, you
absolutely.
give me some more Ito. I need some more heavy stuff.
It's like you say, it's like that heavy stuff, but it is such an easy read. I kid you not. Like, you can just breeze through this. It's incredible.
Yeah, and luckily, he's got an entire backlog. He's got a library of content here that we can take a look at, and I think we need to kick off a tradition.
Oh, yeah?
Maybe spiral back to this next Halloween, check out another one of his works. Got Gaio on my shelf here, just waiting to be cracked open.
Maybe.
And he has got just a catalog of short stories, anthologies. He just did a Frankenstein adaptation that won like a ton of Eisner Awards. This guy's busy.
This is awesome.
And these guys got a work ethic.
I'll say. He did
Churn
all of
these
this in a
things
year.
out. Yes.
It's incredible.
It's ridiculous.
So, yeah, maybe next Halloween we'll crack them open like a snail person and just eat it all
Feast
up.
on that.
Oh, yeah.
That disgusting content. So when we were looking into this, we both stumbled upon an adaptation of this.
Mm-hmm.
And apparently in 2000, right? Was that when it was?
Yeah, 2000.
Like a year after this was done?
Pretty much.
They made a movie.
Yeah.
And we both watched the trailer. It was what you expected
It's
to
as
be.
bizarre as what
Yeah.
you think it is.
But
Yeah.
we have not found time to watch it. So if anyone has seen this,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, how is it? I've heard mixed. I've heard that
I can believe it.
it's very goofy, but horrific, which I like. Yeah, I guess it would
Makes
have to
sense.
be. I don't think you could translate this and not have it come off goofy.
Yeah, there's no way.
But then they're also doing an animated adaptation, it looks like, from Toonami.
Toonami apparently in 2021 is going to have like it looks like a motion comic adaptation of it. So I'm pretty excited to see what that turns out to be. It's apparently going to be like a 4-part miniseries, which I'd be curious to see how they break this up into 4 parts. I mean, you could do like 4 maybe hour-long chunks, but I don't know if they'd go that long.
Yeah, I don't want them to lose any of the best stuff, but I feel like that's what would kind of have to get cut.
Yeah.
Make room for all those whirlwinds.
Yeah.
Take up the better part of
Hopefully
the
it doesn't
second
get
half.
too whirlwindy because there is so much good content in the short story formats for these.
I feel like this would be the way to do it too, because it won't come off goofy if it's animated. You can keep it creepy. And it looks like identical.
Oh yeah, it looks like straight out of the pages, and they actually have a sample of the soundtrack within the trailer. Go check it out. It's on YouTube. Go check it out. It sounds like eerie, creepy, and amazing.
Sounds too spooky for me right now.
Maybe we shouldn't do it. I'm a little scared.
All right. But maybe we will. And maybe by next Halloween we can dive into Gaio and also Gaio, whatever the hell it's called.
Yep.
And also be like, oh yeah, and Uzumaki. How about that weird-ass cartoon?
Yeah.
So I think that'll pretty much do it.
Yeah.
What do you think? Thanks for filling in today.
You bet. I'm happy to read a book when somebody can't get to it.
Oh, man. I might have to have you on more often.
We'll see.
All right. Troy usually wraps up the show. I don't know how to do this. We're going to wing it here.
Okay.
We're going to do this. So, that was Uzumaki. What did you think? Was it the creepiest thing you've ever read? Has your mom walked in on you while you were jerking off to snail porn? Let us know in the comments below. Until next time, I have been Ghost Hunter Dave.
And I'm Dinosaur Neil.
And Troy's somewhere, probably about to be eaten by some renegade wind riders.
We'll see.
But until next time, we've been Imperius Rex, and don't stare into those spirals, people. No good for you.